Howdy, Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here. Today I'm making a sort of different video. Well, not really, it's more or less just me kind of talking about superheroes. But it is different in the case that it's not really scripted, and I really don't even know how long it could be. It could be like 5 minutes long, it could be 10 minutes long. Knowing me to be like an hour long, and I don't even notice. And I'm sorry for that, guys. I really do hate listening to the sound of my voice and giving you the sound of my voice and forcing you to listen to it for hours. And you see, that's what I'm doing right now. So let's get into it right away. Today, I'm talking about the Marvel formula. For those who are wondering what the Marvel formula is, well, apparently there was like a Marvel formula for like how to make superhero movies, and that every superhero movie needs to have a joke or like a fourth wall joke, and like they kind of have to, and then in the end credits some random character from the comics appears who no one has heard of, and then that kind of ties into the next movie, which ties into the next movie, and then all these movies build up a plot for the eventual big movie. I have no idea what that Marvel formula is. I only know like the basic bones of it. No, we're not talking about that Marvel formula. We're talking about the Marvel TV show formula, and why I think it's really not gonna help Marvel in the long run. And the way I see it, Marvel either needs to step up, or Disney's gonna be in trouble and people are gonna start leaving the site, or at least the streaming service Disney Plus. So, what do I mean by the Marvel TV formula? Well, for those who don't know, there was this little streaming service called Disney Plus, and Disney, owning Marvel, decided to take a bunch of Marvel characters, give them their own shows, and throw them onto Disney Plus. These characters happen to be people like Moon Knight, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or, as of streaming right now, Miss Marvel. And one thing I noticed with all these shows is that they have a sort of formula they follow. And at first, it's like, okay, it's fine. But then if you watch one Marvel show, you're like, this is fine. But then if you watch more and more, the more these shows begin to come out and you start watching them. Like if you're like five Marvel shows in, you start to notice that there is a problem, and you're not kind of liking the direction they're going. It's not that the shows are bad, it's that they're kind of repetitive. You feel like you've seen this show before because you literally have less than 2 weeks ago, because another show did that. By the way, before I continue, I forgot to mention, the video I'm using for footage here is from the Canadian lad. Go check him out. Great guy. He also like lives and breathes Marvel. He breaks down all the details from their movies and shows. I'll definitely leave a link to his channel down below. Go check him out. I'm not trying to plagiarize him. But basically, what I mean by the Marvel formula is that it's something I noticed in all their shows, especially from their very first show. That show being WandaVision. WandaVision was the first Marvel TV show. Well, it's not really the first Marvel TV show, but it's the first canon MCU Marvel TV show to be in the cinematic universe, and it was Disney Plus's first Marvel show. WandaVision was a show where it like had 9 episodes, and all of them culminated in like the eighth and ninth episode being like this big finale two-parter. The eighth episode was all about Wanda, how she saw herself as a person, and how she made the hex. And episode 9 was the big battle against Agatha. It was Agatha all along. And at the time the show came out, everyone went crazy. Oh my gosh, people were like dying. It was like the best show ever. It's so good, guys. Have you watched WandaVision? And of course, with popularity comes hatred, and people were obviously gonna pick this show apart, which I'm fine with. You know, I was fine with the criticism of WandaVision. Nothing's really perfect except Finding Nemo. Aside from that, nothing's really perfect. And then another show came out, and this show was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It also was a very entertaining show, and it also had an interesting two-part finale. Episode 5 is where Sam thinks of himself as a character, and then episode 6 is the big bad, is him fighting the big bad. Okay, you know, it's still a fun watch. I really enjoyed it. I honestly find it to be very entertaining. It's like a very long, entertaining movie, but okay. And then we have what was the other show? Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a show I slept on. I'm not gonna mention Loki because it's gonna come late up in my argument. But then we have the shows in 2022 where we have Moon Knight. Moon Knight in episode 5. We have Mark and Steven going into his mind literally. He finds out more of himself as a character. And then episode 6 is him fighting the big bad. Alright. A bit weird, but let's roll with it. And then we have Miss Marvel, where the 5th episode is her finding out more about herself and her family as characters. And the 6th episode is gonna be about her fighting the big bad. But why though? And this is where you start seeing a pattern here. The Marvel shows are now following a sort of formula where most of them are 6 episodes. I'm just gonna go with the 6 episode miniseries assumption here, because again most of them are 6 episodes. But like, you'll have the first 4 episodes. The first 4 episodes are just basically filler. The first episode is to establish the world and the main character. Fair enough, this is what brings people in. Episode 2, 3, and 4 are just kind of the characters goofing around and doing whatever they want. Then we have episode 5, which is the big emotional episode. Whereas episode 1 introduces you to the character, it doesn't introduce everything you need to. It lets you know what you need to know about the character, but it doesn't give you all the information about the character. Or at the very least, it holds some information back, which will serve the plot later on in the series. Episode 5 is where we find out more about the character. We are given the extra information, and it's also the episode that's the most emotional, the most heart tugging. And then episode 6 is the big bad battle. And I'm fine with this for like 1 or 2 shows, but for like 4 shows, all of Marvel's shows have done this. And then in Miss Marvel, the same thing has happened. In episode 1, we get to know about her as a character, where she lives, her family. Episode 5, we get to find out about her family's origins and where she truly came from. And then in episode 6, she's gonna go fight the big bad. As of now, Miss Marvel isn't over yet, but the 5th episode has come out, and I'll review like the show once the final episode comes out next week. But like, you're sensing a pattern here. And the only Marvel shows I know that don't follow this pattern are Loki, because as far as I'm concerned, Loki had its big emotional episode in like episode 3 and the finale. In episode 5, it was more like the quiet episode. It was like the filler episode. Not really a lot happened there, except kind of characters finishing their wrap-up arcs, but it wasn't the heart-tugging episode. That was more like episode 6, where the climax was really a big backstory instead of an actual big bad fighting episode. Episode 6 of Loki was more like an episode 5, and season 2 is probably gonna be the big bad fighting season. And What If? What If is the only Marvel show to divert from this formula entirely because it's an anthology show. The other shows suffer from this because they're telling a continuing story. And this has led a lot of people to kind of be mad at Marvel, being like, Marvel, what are you doing? If you're gonna give all these shows the same formula, may as well make them movies. I know a lot of people would have loved, like, a Falcon and Winter Soldier movie or a Miss Marvel movie. We probably did not need a Moon Knight TV show. I do think Moon Knight, in a way, kind of works as a TV show, but it honestly could have also just been a 2-hour movie. A lot of these shows didn't need to be shows. They could have just been movies, and the story would have ended there. But instead, Marvel keeps putting out different shows with the same formula. We have a new character. This new character either doesn't know about their powers or will learn about them. Then, by the ending of the show, they finally get a hold of their powers, and then they use them in the finale. And that's not even to mention that in the filler episodes, episode 2, 3, and 4, for all of these shows, we barely get to see the characters use their powers. They'll use them like once or twice per episode, or like for 5 minutes, and that's it. Because they're still inexperienced, guys. They don't know about the world they're living in. This is the problem that has plagued all these Marvel shows. Excluding WandaVision, we had Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He didn't get the shield until episode 5. In Loki, even Loki, he didn't use the full extent of his powers because he was always under supervision. It's only like in episode 5 and 6 where he finally started getting crazy. In Hawkeye is a show I slept on. I'm just gonna just be full front up here with you. I could not get myself to watch Hawkeye. But Moon Knight, we keep seeing him go in and out of the suit at random times because, oh no, both personalities can agree on it. And Miss Marvel, she can't get a full grasp of her powers, guys. By the way, can I just say her powers remind me of Gwen from like Ben 10. I know she's like super stretchy in the comics, and I do wish they kept that, but like, it's funny that the replacement they got for her was Gwen Tennyson's powers from Ben 10. I find that hilarious. But they keep doing this. They keep giving us the same formula of, I don't know my powers. Oh well, we're gonna spend 5 episodes figuring that out, and then finally use them in the end. It's like, how do you make a superhero show where you essentially punish your audience by not letting them see the powers? We come to the superhero show to look at the powers and the fights, but you don't give us that until the end of the season. You're essentially punishing us for watching the show. And this kind of gives me the same problem I have with like the CW shows, for example. The CW shows call themselves the superhero shows when really they're just drama shows. They're drama shows with a superhero disguise. Because the superheroes don't use their powers for like, they only use their powers like 3 times an episode. Once at the beginning, or even during a previously on segment, once in the middle where they get their butts kicked by the villains, and then once at the end when they finally beat the villains. It's rinse, wash, and repeat. It's as if they are afraid of showing powers, or they don't have the budget to show powers, or their hearts are not in it, which is very weird. I get shows like Miss Marvel are meant to be world building. Oh hey, we're representing the Muslim culture, and we're showing what life is for a girl in New Jersey, a normal teenage girl in New Jersey. Fair enough. But it's also a superhero show, and you want to see the powers. I get Miss Marvel is the type of story that's more slice of life than superhero, whereas something like Spider-Man is kind of walking the line of superhero and slice of life, and that's a tightrope for him to walk on. But a show like Moon Knight, where like he's most of the time just an assassin or like a hitman for the gods, you would kind of expect the show to be more about that. But it's only when Mark is possessing the body, and again, he's only Moon Knight at night. So you have to wait for those episodes at night to come by. It's very confusing and very frustrating. And it again, Marvel has been following this formula ever since 2021. That's right, we're only 2 years into this nonsense, and Marvel's formula is kind of getting stale. People are seeing the cracks in this, and they're enjoying their shows less and less. Wandavision, Loki, and Moon Knight are still shows that are enjoyed by a lot of people. But name one person who's enjoyed Miss Marvel, who thinks it's the best Marvel show, or what do you call it, or Loki. I like What If, and I like What If not just because it's an anthology show that is the only Marvel show that takes risks, but it's also a show that does something different. By doing something different, it's essentially taking risks where Marvel would not. And let's just say it's animation, alright? The only reason people aren't saying it's their favorite is animation. But I love What If because it uses these new ideas to help advance its story. Whereas these other shows, it's kind of just like, okay, we got a character, give them the same hero's journey plot to follow. 6 episodes. Fifth episode is the emotional episode. First episode is the establishing world episode, and episode 6 is the big battle episode. Copy paste, and I'm kind of worried for their future shows now, like She-Hulk. Like you could cut down most of these shows to just like 4 episodes, and since each episode is like 40 minutes, that's a movie right there. Make a full-on movie of it. But it's not just Marvel that does this. Disney now has seen that Marvel is actually profiting from these 6 episode things. People are liking the shows that Marvel are making, and they're liking the 6 episode formula. Making the world, emotional episode, finale. And Disney's like, we can do this with our other projects. Let's move this type of storytelling to our other projects. And now, Star Wars is suffering from this problem. The Kenobi show is suffering the same thing the Marvel formula is. And let me tell you, as both a Marvel fan and a Star Wars fan, that is just painful. If you go watch Kenobi, you'll see what I mean. The first episode establishes Obi-Wan as a character, and it shows you the world of Kenobi. Episode 5 is more or less the emotional episode, quote unquote, because we get to see what makes Reva the villain. We understand her backstory. We also understand Vader and Obi-Wan's dynamic, the whole master and student approach, and how Obi-Wan is the only one who truly knows who Vader is. And then in episode 6 is where we get the real sucker punch emotion. We get the battle against the big bad, but then we also get that conversation between Obi-Wan and Vader. We finally get to see how these two characters act, and the show ends with Obi-Wan going back to Tatooine. It's the Marvel formula. And Disney saw how profitable that was, and they're like, yo, Kenobi, remember we're gonna make that a movie? Because remember, Kenobi was originally meant to be a movie. But Disney's like, how about we make it a 6-part miniseries and we give it the Marvel formula? Surely it can't fail. And don't get me wrong, I like Kenobi, but I know it has a lot of flaws. And I honestly feel that applying the Marvel formula to Kenobi is one of those flaws. Other shows aren't gonna suffer the same way, I don't think. Like, The Bad Batch won't suffer because it's animation, completely different team. But shows like Andor kind of make me worried for what's gonna happen to them. And I think I heard Andor's gonna have like 12 episodes, which that alone pisses me off because Andor's the one show no one asked for. Yet Disney seems to be putting the most amount into it. They put more money into it and they're putting more episodes into it. It's whatever. I have a whole like feud with Andor as a series just for existing, but that's not for this video. That's for another time. And with Disney applying the Marvel formula to Star Wars, I feel like it could damage it. As I've said before, I really hope the Ahsoka series learns from the mistakes Kenobi made and becomes better. Disney pours more money into Ahsoka, and on top of that, Ahsoka kind of doesn't try to apply the Marvel formula, but more or less it tells its own story. Like Disney has seen that it's kind of profiting them, it does make me worried for Ahsoka. I feel at the end of the day that the problem with them applying the Marvel formula to like Star Wars and like to their other shows stems from one thing. Disney doesn't kind of know how to tell a TV show properly. I hate to say it, but it's true. Disney, I don't think, knows how to tell a serialized story in a big canon universe. This is mostly due to the fact that they're competing with other shows, with other streaming services like HBO Max and Netflix. I haven't watched HBO Max, so I'm not going to say anything on it. But like, if we look at Netflix, right? Netflix produces entire seasons and places them all on one day. And all these episodes act like chapters in one overall movie. Netflix treats each season as one big movie, and the episodes in each season are like the chapters for one movie. They're not really what's this? They're not really standalone episodes on their own. You can't just pop on episode 7 of a show and expect to follow the story. You need to watch the whole season, and the whole season's one elongated movie. Disney seems to be trying to copy Netflix while at the same time saying we have our own identity. This is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna sidestep from this. And it's very weird. They clearly want to be different from Netflix, but at the same time they're taking a page out of Netflix's book and then trying to turn it in as their own. It's like, hey bro, can I copy your homework? Sure, I just changed it up a bit. And Disney actually did change it up a bit, but it's clearly not working for them. I don't think Disney taking Netflix's formula and then trying to make it their own works. They need to come up with something on their own to make it work. And that's why I feel like shows like The Mandalorian work so much better. The Mandalorian acts as if it's like a book where each episode is a chapter. You can pop on and you can like turn on any episode on The Mandalorian and be entertained, and you don't necessarily have to follow the story. And thanks to the previously on segments, you pretty much catch up quickly. The Mandalorian is a simple show with a simple story. But if you want to watch something like Miss Marvel or you want to watch WandaVision, it would be really confusing if you popped in any later episode. And I'm not saying skip episode 1. I'm just saying Disney really seems to benefit if they go with the more simple approach rather than doing what Netflix does and turn all their shows and properties into one big factory, just pumping thing after thing after thing, copy pasting, where it essentially has no soul whatsoever. This is why Netflix is dying, actually. Netflix is slowly dying as a streaming service, not just because it's treating its service poorly, but because it treats all its shows as a product. Copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. And if you're not bringing in any money, Netflix won't market you. This is why shows like Umbrella Academy, which are really good shows, don't get as much marketing or don't get shown to as many people because they didn't bring in the big bucks. Netflix will still give like big budgets to these shows. Basically, they'll give them a lot of money. However, they will market them, but they will market the hell out of things like Stranger Things because Stranger Things brought Netflix a lot of money. Much like how SpongeBob brought Nickelodeon a lot of money, but Nickelodeon won't market Avatar because Avatar wasn't as popular as SpongeBob. And I swear, like I went into a mall and it was just Stranger Things all over the place. Not any other Netflix show, just Stranger Things. And it shows how Netflix is kind of struggling from that. Disney only gets the up on this side because they haven't really started mass producing as quickly as Netflix. They actually bother to like schedule their shows and like produce them week after week, which allows them enough time to like market them like Moon Knight and be like, hey, come watch our show before it's over, and Kenobi. But like from the way things are going, it's not gonna be long. I bet you by the end of the year, Disney is gonna start mass marketing their shows. None of them are gonna have any soul anymore, and it's just gonna be watch our show, watch our show, watch our show, watch our show, watch our show. And I bet you they'll soon start producing shows with entire seasons just so they can get that quick 15 minutes of fame and then fade into obscurity. Or since Disney now knows that releasing shows weekly is actually benefiting them, they're gonna release them weekly, but they're gonna still stick to the same formula because it's the cheapest route to go. If they can't be like Netflix and budget their shows and release all of them at once, instead they're gonna be like Netflix and mass produce their shows, but with a formula so that they don't waste that much. And that's my biggest problem with Disney Plus and the shows they're making. It's at first it was really endearing how they did it, kind of original. Now it's becoming repetitive. Soon it's gonna become sick. People are gonna get tired of it, and slowly by slowly, we're gonna lose more Marvel fans, and at this point, Star Wars fans. So Disney, take this as, and Marvel to an extent, take this as a criticism and as a warning. Don't be like Netflix. You were created so that you could defeat Netflix in the streaming wars. Don't become the thing you sought to destroy. Anyways, guys, I'm sorry for going on. I'm pretty sure this video is like now an hour long or something. So I apologize for you listening to my voice. I'm sorry for not even paying attention to what video is playing on your screen right now because I'm just rambling. Apologies for that. Thank you so very If you made it this far into the video, thank you so very much for watching. Please be kind enough to leave a like, smash that like button, slap a cow, hit the notification bell to be part of the team. I have been Captain Phoenix, and with that, I'll see you in another universe.